Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Toni Tesler, ToniStamps, that's me. Tonight we're gonna make a little album. So the finished size of this album is 4¼ by 6¼ and the beauty is I'm using these North Pole sacks as the pages, all right? So this is just my prototype. It's not decorated. This is what I use to figure out measurements, to figure out what not to do, what changes to make. And I've definitely got a couple of changes to make. But I'm going to show you, part of this is how to make the album. So the covers are going to be made out of chipboard, or like the base of the book is chipboard, or cereal box, whatever. We'll get into that. And then we're going to use, I'm going to show you how to do this hinge. Like this is what all the pages or the little sacks are going to connect to make our pages. So I think it's cool. And we don't need a whole lot of stuff. I will have the description updated with everything we need, but it's just a couple of things like some chipboard or cereal boxes. I used the, this stuff came with my stamps when I ordered postage stamps from the post office. It's very thin, like cardboard, but similar to a cracker box or cereal box or pasta box, something like that. So we need a couple pieces of that. Some cardboard, not cardboard, some cardstock. And maybe one 8½ by 11 sheet will get us everything we need. And then we're going to need 2 pieces of designer series paper, 6½ by 8. And that is very specific because it's what we need to get across the whole album. So let's get down to it. And this is not, it's not a family heirloom that we're creating. It's a fun little book that you can use for like recipes or pictures or journals. We can put a lot of stuff in these pockets. We can, fold up things like have a piece of cardstock and fold it in half so you can put pictures on all those sides, or you can write some stuff in it. Like, it'll have a lot of uses, but it's going to be just a fun little album, okay? All right, let's go down to my desk and get to it. All right, so this is the album that we're going to make. It is 4¼ tall by 6¼ long. The spine that we're going to make is actually going to be smaller. This one is my prototype. This is 1½, and we're going to go down to 1¼ but I want to show you first, since this was my prototype, I want to show you what I found that I want to change. All right, so we open it up. Now again, I'm going to go through all the steps, so don't worry that you're going to miss anything. I'm using like cardboard for my covers, and we're going to cover it with designer series paper. That part's fine. We're using the bags. So these are the North Pole sacks. These were an add-on from Paper Pumpkin for I believe for this month, for the November kit. I got these last month, and they come 12 to a pack, and it's only $4. I think it's a good value, and I immediately knew I wanted to make a little book with them. But what I would change here, we're still going to use the bags. I would cut the teeth edge off. So I would make this just straight, just whack this off. And I may go back and fix this one later. But I can just tell already that fumbling in, trying to put stuff in and out of here, I'm already catching it on my fingers. And I don't think that's going to bode well for long term. And I'd rather it not get ratty, so I'm just going to cut that off. So that's one change. Now it does come right up to the edge. I did not add a ribbon closure. So you're going to need something, generally you're going to need something to keep these albums closed. So you could either add ribbon before I would cover this. So I may do that, I'm not sure. Or punch holes in the ends, add some grommets or eyelets, and then ribbon. So you can either tie it or glue it in, all right? So that's something to think about. The other thing that I want to change is the gussets. So how we're going to make this book is we're going to use this hinge system. We're going to build this hinge, and these tabs, these 1/2-inch hinges, are what our bags are going to slide on. So let me show you. So I hope you can see how it goes right down to the edge. Well, I backed it off about 1/16 of an inch. So I may put that a little closer down to the bottom, but I think that's a good distance. But the hinges I added, this is a 3/8 of an inch gusset. So the gussets are the space between the pages, all right, or between the hinges, actually. So this is a hinge, same thing here. Hinge, 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 hinge. And I made these gussets smaller. I made these ones 1/4 inch. These are 3/8 of an inch, and I just think that's too big, just because I don't think my pages are going to be very bulky. I don't think I'm going to add like a whole lot of, let me check my camera. I want to make sure you guys can see this. Yeah, you can see that. If you had a lot of 3D things like on the front of your page, this 3/8 inch border or gusset would be perfectly fine. But I think mine are going to be a little bit less bulky, so I want to cut that down a little bit. So the measurements and what we're going to make right now is going to have 1/4 inch gusset. All right. Also, I wanted more room. I don't know if you can really tell, but at the beginning and end, there's a lot less room than the other ones, and I wanted to kind of even that out. So hopefully my measurements will take care of that. So let's get to it. We're gonna make, it's gonna be the same size except a little bit less wide. So let's talk about what do we need supply-wise. Well, you're gonna need bags, and these measurements fit these bags, okay? So these bags are, and we need 4 of them. Like I said, we get 12 to a pack. And 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so you need 4 of these North Pole sacks, and they are 4 1/8 by 6 1/4. Now that's going to change a little bit because remember I said I'm going to cut this off, and we're also going to cut off just the teensiest little bit here because we want to cut this end piece off so that we can slide them onto our hinges. So we need 4 of these bags. All right, put those off to the side. We're gonna need, oh, and I wrote this down. We're gonna need chipboard. So, chipboard or cardboard. So I'm using the cardboard that I bought postage stamps from the post office, like USPS.com, and they mail them to you. So they mail it in these, it's pretty flimsy, not flimsy, but it's thinner cardboard. So I'm going to use that. You could also use the whiteboard that comes in the back of the designer series paper. That would be perfectly fine. If you find that this is not thick enough for you, you can glue them together and double it up. Or you could flat out buy chipboard, or another idea is all the chipboard pieces that come in our paper pumpkin kits. This is a little bit thicker than what I've got here. So let's just hold that up, if you can really tell. This is like half as wide. So I do save all these pieces because I do like to make other albums with them. But this is supposed to be like something quick and easy, and you know, not like a big deal. So anything you have, even cereal boxes, cracker boxes, anything. All right. So we need 2 pieces, 4 1/4 by 6 1/4. That's for this cover and this cover. Then we need a piece that's 1 1/4 inch wide by 4 1/4, and this is the spine. So these are our 3 pieces. That's how they're going to go together. All right. Then we're going to wrap this. So that's what this is called, is wrapping the covers. When we, wrap it around here, you need 2 pieces, and I'm using designer series paper. 2 pieces that are 6 1/2 by 8. And this is going to be a little tight, but I really wanted to save as much of my designer series paper as I could. Like, I really could have gone 8 1/2, and if I was using cardstock, I probably would have. But for this case, I'm using designer series paper, so I cut this. So I've got 2 pieces, 6 1/2 by 8. All right, and we're going to stack them. We're going to connect them right here, right in the middle. All right. What else do we need? Then, actually, let's deal with this part first, and then we will get into the next bit, which will be making the hinge. All right, so let's go ahead, and we start off by, we need to attach our cardboard pieces to our rack. All right, So we decide, what do we want? I want this on the inside. I want this on the outside. So we're going to need tear and tape, a 1/4 inch. And we're going to put it right at the very edge. And let's see, we want to match up our plaid if there is. Yep. All right, so I'm going to do it just on this one end. And I'm going to run this all the way to the end. And there we go, rip that. Now I only want to overlap this 1/4 inch. You don't need any extra overlap, all right? And really, you don't want it, see I've got it here and I really don't want it that close to the edge. I want the seam kind of more in the middle, but you really want the tape up to the edge because you don't want this to get caught on anything or to start like, you know, rolling up. So we're gonna overlap these exactly on that tape. And you can add liquid glue if you want. I like to, just because I like that extra little bit. All right, so let's do this. And I wanna line this up straight because that'll help me keep it straight. So I'm just gonna pick a line on my grid, go for it. And lining this up. And that, this to that. All right, that looks pretty good. All right, and this glue doesn't really matter if it comes out. It's not gonna, it'll dry clear. All right, so this is the base of our cover anyway, our wrap. So let's flip this over. And we're going to start with our middle piece, like our spine, and I want it right in the middle. And this is going to be, it's going to be a whole bunch of this tape, all right? And then a little bit of liquid glue thrown in the mix. Now, some people like to do oh, look at that. I gotta rip that up. That is really strong tape that grabbed my my cardboard. All right, let's try this again. I think if I was using real chipboard, obviously that wouldn't happen. All right, let's push that harder. Jeez. All right. Now burnish all this down. And I'm actually gonna do all three of the chipboard pieces. I'll tape them up. And then we will lay them down and do the wrap. And then get to our hinge. All right. Now I'm gonna speed up through this part, but I do want you to see how much of this tape I really use. It's a lot. Actually, I'm gonna do it this way. All right, I want total coverage. I mean, not total, but I'm gonna add a lot of strips. And if you have wider tape, that's perfectly fine. It'll just use less of it. All right, now I'm gonna stop talking and speed up for real. So we've got all of our pieces adequately covered with our tear and tape or score tape, whatever. Now I'm going to go back and just burnish everything down again. Really mash it down in there. Okay, so we're gonna do our, again, we're gonna go in the middle. So the seam of my paper is right here. And actually I'm gonna, excuse me. I'm gonna try to use my ruler to help me. Because I want this centered top to bottom also. I mean, it's not critical, but okay, that's good. All right, so I'm gonna hold my ruler here. Make sure that stays straight. Actually, I need to adjust my paper. Okay, that looks right. So let's peel these up. And then I'm gonna add a little bit of glue. Come on, I want a little bit more than that to come out. I just like this, adding the liquid glue also. All right, and then I'm gonna put this right again, trying to get it right in the middle. All right, burnish, burnish, burnish. All right, now I'm gonna slide my ruler because I just want it for my placement so that I can try to keep this piece straight as well. Now I'm gonna unpeel everything, same as I did before, and add some glue. I really love this idea of using the bags as pages. It kind of goes along with the other little album I made a couple months ago out of treat bags, which I still need to get a video together. That used like little, I want to say like lunch bags even, because the bottom part folded up into a pocket. That was really cool. All right, glue. And if you want to forego the glue, it's okay. You don't have to have it. All right, now as far as placement, you do not want these butted right up. Let me use this one. You do not want this butted right up against this cover. All right, the spine. You have to have some wiggle room so that the pages will actually open. All right, so ideally you want like, it's supposed to be twice the width, 2 or 3 times the width of how wide your chipboard is, but you can also eyeball it and at least have 1/8 of an inch, and make sure these get up here. Oh wait, I'm doing this one. So, all right, straight. So I want at least 1/8 of an inch, and you'll be able to tell. That looks good. Okay. Burnish, burnish, burnish. I really want to get that tape down, and I want to get all that glue. Oh, and you know what? It probably wouldn't have hurt for me to flip this over and do the burnishing this way as well. Actually, let me get this one. Yeah, this one's a better for all that burnishing. All right, now let's get our last piece on. And then we'll go ahead and fold these ends in. Oh, look at that. I ripped up that tape again. Jeez, I'm gonna have to have more glue. So my ideas, as far as what are you gonna put in these, obviously pictures. You can fill it with pictures. But I thought if you wanted something different, you could make this a little recipe book. But I do like the idea of pictures and journaling together. Mini scrapbook, different journal. I mean, you can put, you know, mementos in these pockets. Lots of possibilities with this kind of thing. All right, let's get this. That jacked up tape is going to be a problem. All right, so ruler to keep everything Same. And does that look crooked? Oh, I think it is a little bit crooked, but I mean, too late now. Yep, see how, I think it's running uphill. Let me see. Oh, it keeps moving every time. Yep, it's running uphill a little bit. Oh, well. All right, so it just means my plaid is going to be a little bit off. So again, I want to come in and have this about 1/8 of an inch apart. And it's good thing I put this glue on because I'm having to wiggle this around. Okay. All right. That does bother me that I didn't get it perfectly straight. But I'm gonna live with it. All right, so now, let me get all this thrown away. We wanna bring our, all our edges up and in, all right? So first we kind of have to, excuse me, we have to kind of train our paper. Now, if you had used cardstock instead of designer series paper, you really have to take care and make sure you're doing this, training your paper. You just want it to bend it a little bit at the ends, just to get it to go in that direction gently. If you were to just jam it, it might rip your paper. You know, it wouldn't be good. So we're just trying to gently bend, and I'm just flexing it, especially with the designer paper. I don't want it to rip. All right, and I realized that just went right in the camera. All right, now let's take our bone folder, and I'm gonna go bend it in even a little bit more, okay? And I'm gonna do this along all the sides. Then we're gonna add even more tape. Let me do this. More tape and more glue, because we really don't want this going anywhere. All right, so tape. We're gonna run tape all around the chipboard, and I'm gonna go right across these skips and just continue right to the end. All right, and I'm gonna do it on all the sides, but let me do the long ones first. And then the short ones. And I do want to get it in the middle and on the spine too. Actually, wait a minute. I'm trying to think. Yeah, no, this is excessive. This I should have added later. So skip that. Don't do that. Just do this one, because the middle is where we're going to add the spine that we're going to build. All right. So we've got it around the chipboard. Now we want to put it all around the edge of our designer paper. And I should have started on the side closest to me because I can see that better. Now you don't necessarily have to go completely to the end because we're going to cut these off at an angle anyway. So just get it close. And then the ends a little bit. So you see, putting it at the end of the paper and at the end of the chipboard, when we fold this over, it's going to be like completely covered. So that's good. Now, when I came up with the measurements of this, and I said we needed 2 pieces that were 6.5 by 8, I need to draw you a picture of how I came up with that. Because notice, I have about 1 inch border around all of this. So let me draw something real quick. Well, actually, I can draw it right here. All right, so we had our 2 pieces of chipboard, or 3 pieces. And this obviously not to scale. So we've got our front, our back, our spine, and our back. So I knew this was 6 1/4, right? 6 1/4, 1 1/4. We need, and this was 4 1/4. So we need paper that goes around here and adds an inch. So, you know, +1, +1, +1. So 6 1/4 plus 6 1/4, that's 12 1/2, plus 1 1/4, 13 3/4, plus an inch here and an inch here meant I needed a piece that was 15 3/4. We don't have paper that's long, so that's why you have to get 2 pieces. But this will tell you how big you need it. And then over here, we went 4 1/4, and then we add an inch top and bottom, 6 1/4. But you get the idea of how you have to figure out your designer series paper or your cardstock, whatever that you would need. So it's easier just to, like, you know, do what I've given you, the measurements. But I'm trying to help you to see if you want to figure out how to make your own custom size album later on, you know. All right, so let's cut our corners off. So you can go, I like to go just straight across, and I'm again leaving about 1/8 of an inch. Some people like to angle this a little bit more, like maybe like that. Again, I'm trying to leave 1/8 of an inch. I don't prefer the angle. I like to just go straight. Okay, but whatever you want. And if you don't get it right in 1/8, it's not the end of the world. Doesn't matter, really. Okay. So again, I'm leaving this part because I should not have put that down. So what we're going to do, peel off all this tape, and then I'm going to add a little bit more glue, and I'm going to start in the middle, and then I'm going to go out and drag this all the way down. All right? Because you don't want any bubbles, and you want everything nice and smooth and flat. And I am cooking a cheesecake, so if I hear my timer go off, I'm gonna have to call timeout. Okay. All right, and I'm again start in the middle, and don't worry that this is gonna get covered up. All right, and push, push, push. All right, and then where'd my bone folder? Let's bone fold all of this. Okay. And then I'm going to come down here and like just catch that edge, flatten that out. Now I'm going to do the same thing on the bottom. Again, peel up our tape. Come on, tape. And then I'll add another little bit of glue up here. And then push up. Actually, it's better for me if I pull it. So come down in the middle and then press, press, and then go out. All right, I'm trying to keep everything nice and flat, no bubbles. Okay. So it looks to me like it's only going to be a slight air, you know, downhill with my pattern. So I think I'm going to make this the back because that looks like it's more leaning. All right, now let's do, I'm just flattening out this little bit at the bottom, and then we'll do these side bits. And then we're going to make our hinge. All right, and again, let's do a little bit of glue and go right in the middle. And then this one, I can just do it all at once. Okay, really nice. So I had another video, the one when I made my mom's guest book for her funeral service. I was covering the chipboard, but I did them 2 separate pieces. That one did not have a spine, but the technique is the same for covering the chipboard. All right, so let's do, I'm flattening out that bit and this right here. And then let's peel up our tape. Add some glue. And press. And burnish. Okay, now let me put my pin in my glue for a minute. So before we get to the hinge building part, so we want to start using our scoring tool, our bone folder, to get in these grooves. So I'm going to flip it over, and you just want to find that groove and just go back and forth gently so it's making a slight indentation, and then we can start to fold it. Okay, and it doesn't hurt to flatten it out every once in a while. Again, this is just, you know, bending, making sure everything's gonna bend nice. Okay. And then I'll go from the back again, get these bits. So see here how when we fold it, that's why you need this gap in here. You can really tell when I go to fold it. If there was no gap, we wouldn't be able to bend these like that. Okay, the pages, they just wouldn't want to bend, period. All right, now let me, I think I said this, yeah, this was gonna be the back, because this looks straight. This looks a little bit off, just a teensy bit. Yeah, so this will be the front. And again, just smoothing out. All right, so now we need our hinge. So this is the hinge that it's gonna go right in here, and it's gonna be like right in the center of this spine. So we wanna make this, and it's out of cardstock. All right, so this is the piece that we haven't talked about. So we're gonna use, and I'm using crumb cake for all of that. So the hinge, the piece that we need to start out with is only 3 7/8, okay? And that's because this, I wanted a 1/4 inch border or so. This is 4 1/4, and I wanted it 4, I really wanted it 4, but our bags are exactly 4, and they didn't want to slide on the hinges, so I had to make this a little bit less. So that's why 3 7/8 tall by 7 3/4, and then we're going to do all these score marks. All right, and this is what I also want to draw out. So what we're building here, hinges and gussets. That's all these score marks. All right, so I like to leave like a 1.5 inch starter. All right, so let's just make score marks. So we're gonna go hinge, hinge, gusset. All right, that is going to give us this hinge, hinge, gusset is gonna give us this one flap right here, and then this is our gusset on the inside or in between. All right, so, and then I'll come back and mark these. So we want another one, hinge, hinge, gusset, hinge, hinge, gusset, hinge, hinge. So you want to start and end with hinges. All right, and that's because on the sides, you know, it's like we don't need any gusset on this side or this side. All right, and then let me do colors. Blue. So these two together fold up and make a hinge. Then we've got our gusset, this one right here. And then the next two, these fold together and make the next hinge. And then we have the gusset. And then these next two come together and make a hinge, and then a gusset. And then these final two come together and make a hinge. All right. So my hinges, I like a 1/2 inch hinge because that's a good, especially for this size page or whatever, that's a good sturdy enough hinge. I wouldn't go any less than a 1/2 inch. If you were making a bigger book, you might want to go with a 1 inch hinge, but so 1/2 inch. So each one of these is a 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, 1/2. All right. Our hinges are 1/2 inches tall. Our gussets, remember I said I wanted to make those smaller. So this is a 1/4 inch. All right. So let me just write this here. Hinge, 1/2 inch. Gussets, in this case, I made them 1/4 inch. Whereas my first album, I made it 3/8 of an inch. And that 1/8 of an inch really does make a difference. All right. So this is what this is how it looks when we make the hinge. And it'll end up giving us that. All right. So let's bring out our 2 pieces that I said we need. So we've got our hinge piece, 3 7/8 by 7 3/4. That's what this is. No, wait, that's what this is. These two are for the inside covers, 3 7/8 by 6. So we're going to cover this, and then, you know, that, actually, let's look at this one. So we're going to lay our hinge down first, and then I use the same color cardstock because we kind of want it to blend in here. All right. So these 2 pieces, 3 7/8 by 6. All right. So meanwhile, let's go ahead and do all our scoring. And all these measurements are in the description if you have not seen that yet. So don't worry, but I will hold this up. So we've got, let's just do it like this. I think you can read this. Yeah, so we're going to start here, 1 1/2 inches. And then 2, 2 1/2, 2 3/4. So that's our 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch. All right, now come down here, 3 1/4, 3 3/4, and 4. Then we go 4 1/2, 5, 5 1/4, and then 5 3/4, and 6 1/4. All right, that's all our scoring. Now we're just going to take these, and it's easier if I hold it this way. So these two, we're just going to fold it up and then push it down and then go back and forth. So we're pinching that together, and then this right here is our gusset. So the next group of hinges, we're going to do the same thing. Pinch them together, like up, and then just go back and forth on that hinge a little bit. And then the last one. All right, now that's just to get these folded so we know what's what, even though they're different sizes. Now we have to go back, and we want this to be strong. So we're going to put more tape on the inside of our hinges because we want them to stick together and make a strong holder for our pages. And I'm just using one piece of tape, like right down the middle. You don't want it close to the edge. All right. Now again, burnish, burnish, burnish. If you want to add liquid glue here, add it. I don't think I did, so I'm going to peel that and then squeeze these together again. All right, and then we'll do all our burnishing and folding at the end. All right, so I'm just gluing these, our hinge pieces together. And these will all line up nice and flat. If yours don't, then maybe something was wrong with your scoring or something, but you do want it nice and flat. Okay, now, so here we go. So we want to lean them all over in one direction and burnish individually, and then flip it over and burnish. Then flip all these hinges over to the other side, and then same thing, burnish, everything burnish down, and then flip it, and again more burnishing, and try to go hit each gusset from the back. All right, so this is very flat. Okay. So our pages, we want them to move, right? So that's why we need our hinges to be very flexible. Perfect. All right, now more tape. If you have not guessed that already, we want, let me put these evenly. No, let's put them all in one direction. So I really like tape down in each gusset. Okay, right down the center of each gusset. All right, and then on both sides. And the ends. And then we might as well just fill it up for good measure. I'll put 2 more strips. So again, I use crumb cake cardstock just because that's what I'm going to use on the inside covers, and it just looks nicer if it's all the same. All right, burnish, burnish, burnish the tape. And I'm going to check the time. Okay. I think I might have 15 or 20 minutes left. All right, now, I'm going to leave that here for a minute in case you want to take a picture real quick of all the score marks. Okay. So now we want to bring our album in. Again, this is our front. So this hinge piece, I should say, we want to get centered on this chipboard. This way, we want it centered this way and this way. All right, so I'm just looking. So this is the very center. So I'm going to try to get that lined up. The very center gusset looks like it should be right outside this line. All right, so like here. The trick is keeping it centered top to bottom and all that. All right, that's looking pretty good. Okay, so we're going to peel all this tape up. Now this, I'm definitely going to add glue because you know how this sticky tape works. Like if I put it down and it's wrong, then this whole thing is ruined. So I want to add the glue so it gives me wiggle room, time to manipulate and move it around and get it where I want it. All right, come on. Jeez. Okay. But I love a little book like this. Because really, 4 pages, there's 2 sides to each page, so that's 8. And then we're going to be able to put stuff in the pockets. So that's more than 8. So maybe 16 pictures that this could hold. All right. Now glue. Oh, sticking to me. All right, let's hold on to one of these hinges. And that's really not a ton of glue. All right, so holding this, and again, I want it centered on this spine, top to bottom and side to side. And I might have to get my head in there. All right, that looks good. All right, I got glue on me. So we want to take our bone folder and go down in between each hinge. All right, and then all down the sides. And if it's okay, if some of the glue's coming out, I just want to get it all, like no air bubbles, okay? I love having both these size bone folders. These are the Teflon ones that I got off Amazon. You know what, I should just add a link to these because somebody always asks me, what are you using? Where do you get it? So I will give that to you. All right, so we've got our hinge in and that looks even. So now, remember how we went through and made the score marks where our pages, where our covers are gonna bend? Now I need to do that on here. So I need to follow this outer groove, okay, like right there. And I'm just gently pressing and going back and forth because these covers need to know that they have to move. There we go. And then let me get in here again with the edge. And then I'm gonna go on the back side. Okay. Nice. So we've got our hinges in here, ready to add our pages. Okay, now our pages, i.e. our little sacks, our North Pole sacks. Get this out of the way. So we're gonna start by, like I said, we have to trim off the very bottom of this because we need this to be open so that it can slide over our hinge, and then that's what moves. So let me show you this one. So see how it's here, and then, well, you can't tell, but that's because I've covered it with cardstock, but that's the other side of that bag. It's gonna slide right over that hinge. All right, so let's bring in our cutter, and then I'm also gonna cut off this zigzaggy because I don't like it. I just think it's not good. It's gonna get ratty. All right, now I'm gonna line this up so I cut just the teensiest little bit off, okay? Like that much. Just enough to where this now opens, all right? And then let me go ahead and trim this. So let's line that up 5.5 and see. So that has some of the edge. So let's go a smidge less than 5.5, like not even, well, all right, let's go a 1/16 of an inch. All right, perfect. So again, smidge off the bottom. 5.5 minus a 1/16. Nice. We're gonna do this on all 4 bags. Now these bags are food safe, but that doesn't matter to us because we are not making a food scrapbook. All right, so we've got all our little bits that we cut off. Let's get those off the table. Now the bags, we need to, where they came together at the bottom, all right, that's this. For some reason I had to add more glue. Oh yeah, it's this flap here. So this was the bottom of the bag, like this little flap came over. This is what we trimmed off. So I want to glue these. I don't want to glue this shut because we need that open to go on the hinge. But I do want to add a little bit of glue like right there, just so that corner stays down. Because it's easier to glue it now versus when we put it on the hinge. All right, so just, let me bring that closer. So just like right there. Okay, and I'm going to do that on all the 4 bags. And this is going to be on the back side, so we can just stack those up. Oh, here we go. All right, I'm going to finish these and come back. Okay, we are back. Had to pull my cheesecake out of the oven. It smells delicious. I made a pumpkin cheesecake. All right, that's kind of cool. We have all of our bags. So all the little ends have been glued on, and it's gonna go on like that. Yep, that, and that. All right. So putting these on the hinge, the idea is, let me bring this up more. We want this to slide on here like that. All right, and it should fit because this is 3 7/8, whereas the bag is 1/8. Okay, there we go. So see how that slid right on? And ultimately we want it to be just a hair off from the fold. We don't want it to encumber any of this movement. But first we have to put more tape on here. All right, on both sides of the hinge, and we don't want to go all the way to the bottom. So I want it as close to the top edge and on both sides. All right, and we're gonna add maybe the middle. Where's the end of this? All right, I can have it like in the middle of the hinge, but not at the very bottom. All right, let's get a better look at that. So here's our hinge. So it looks like it's about an 1/8 inch off from the fold. All right, and I want both sides. And in the same spot. Lots of tape for these kinds of books. But that's okay, because we want them to stay together, right? We put all this time into them. We don't want them to fall apart or the pages to just fall out. Okay. Now, just double checking. Yep, that's my front. I was starting on the back page, and then, so what we want to do, we're going to peel, oh, actually, you know what? We got to burnish all this tape down. We got to peel off like the tape from the front of the hinge first, get our bag on, press that down, and then reach up into there and get this side of the tape off. And it's easier than it sounds. All right, so let's hold our bag and just verify this is the back and the bottom. We want it to slide over. Okay. Oopsie, come on. And this might be fickle, but it's gonna go on there. There we go. All right, so just eyeballing, where do I want it? And we wanna keep our pages straight in the album, okay? So we don't want it to be like that, obviously. But let's just check everything is straight. And that is about a 1/16 of an inch off from the bottom of the page. All right, so we're gonna have to redo this, but we just wanna make sure it's gonna go on there. And I'm gonna peel this tape. All right, I'm gonna do it just a little bit. Get my bag back on here, kind of. All right, peel this tape. Slide this down. Make sure that's all flat. Flat and straight. Yep, press that. And then, actually, I've got a little, like a picker. So we just want to get that started, get that tape. There we go, like fish it out. All right, and then squeeze, press, and then our page is in there. How awesome is that? All right, and I hope that's straight. Okay, next one, same thing. Here's our back. Let's open this up. That's going on nice. All right, now we're lining top and bottom up and scooching this down to where we want it. That looks good. So actually, I'm going to try to do the fishing of the tape out from this side. I don't know what's wrong with my... Why doesn't this want to work? Oh, here we go. Okay. I got it started. There we go. Nice. And then burnish. And then we'll flip this over. And I should be able to get the other side of this tape out. That came out a lot easier. All right. Burnish. Nice. And then we're going to continue. 2 more pages. And then we're going to have a decision to make. All right, get this on the hinge. So it helps if I open it and slide it. Okay. Even, even. Oops. Okay. I'm going to fish my tape out. And this really isn't tricky. Like when you're making it, you'll see that you can get this tape out. And you don't really, you might not have to fish it out like I'm doing. There we go. Some people will take it halfway off, the tape halfway off, and then put their page on, and that was too much stress for me. There we go. Okay, burnish. Burnish. Everything's lined up. And if it's not lined up perfectly, that's okay. Because what? It's not the end of the world. All right, let's get this last one on. So I thought 4 would be a good number. And frankly, I did that because I only had 1 pack of these books at first. I mean, 1 pack of the bags. And since there was 12 in a pack, I thought, well, if I make it 6, if I put six pages in here, if I really messed it up, that was like half of my, I'm going to turn this around, do it this way. That would be half of my pack, you know, wasted. So I kind of wanted 4 as the test run for my prototype, because then, you know, I had enough. But you could certainly make more, add more pages. You would just have to readjust your hinge, because you would need more hinges, which in turn would make your spine wider. Okay, so you would just have to do some math there, but you could totally add more pages. I like it. All right, now notice when this is sitting up straight, now we have plenty of room over here. So we wanted to, if I wanted to add an eyelet and then put some ribbon through to tie this closed. So this isn't going to want to necessarily stay closed on its own. That's just the nature of them, okay? So we can either, here's what we have to decide. If we want to use ribbon, like not with an eyelet, just have ribbon like glued in here, we have to do that before we put in our inside covers, okay? Because we don't want the, we want the ribbon in between here. We want to glue it right there. So we can do that. Or I can just glue these on now and then punch holes and add an eyelet. And I really think I want to do the ribbon, tie the ribbon. I don't want to punch a hole, because for this first one, I want to have this whole area to decorate. And if I was to punch a hole, that would take out of it, all right? And it wouldn't be like a perfect rectangle. So I am going to go time out, and I'm going to find some acceptable ribbon, and then we'll come back. Okay, I have found the ribbon, and now I just need my, I'm going to glue my ribbon down with Fabri-Tac. It's just a good fabric adhesive. Obviously, if you don't have it, you can get by without it. But I decided on the ribbon from the Old Olive and Sahara Sand Twill combo pack. So this is probably 3/8 inch wide. Yep, 3/8 inch wide. I would like something a little wider, but this is what I had, and it's gonna go good enough. It'll be neutral, because I'm gonna have probably something crumb cake on here too when I figure out the final decorations. But what I want to do is, I like to have a long lead on this, because I don't want this ribbon coming out at all. So let me just eyeball, and we'll go right to this line, because that'll be the same on front and back. All right, and I'm just saying, let's give it this much so I can tie a bow. And let's do that. All right. So I am first going to start off with, actually, let me just put this ribbon back, get this out of the way. I'm going to lay down some more, and actually I want to use the last of this. So I'm going to eyeball the middle. All right, and tear and tape. And then I'm going to add Fabri-Tac. Okay. And this is a pretty quick drying fabric glue. And I'm going to put this right up against that crumb cake, the edge of our spine. All right, and smooth this out. All right, this does have a smell to it, like solvent or something. All right, so let's let that sit and find a paper towel. And then we'll do the back side. Yeah, this dries pretty quickly, like on my fingers. All right, now I'm just gonna hold this up and eyeball. Actually, let me look out right here. All right, let's go out to like there. Peel this up, add the Fabri-Tac, add our second piece of ribbon. Okay, and again, let's put it right up, butt it right up to this crumb cake piece. There we go. All right. Okay. Now I'm going to want to cover this. Normally I would want to stamp this depending on, you know, like what theme am I going to put in this album? I don't even know yet. This is just creating the base of this album. And then I'm going to have to decorate it and, you know, pick something later. The fact that these are technically snowflakes, they don't look like snowflakes to me. So I'm not going to let that interfere with my design choice. But frankly, when I cover up the back, like you don't even see it anyway. So we're just using the bag just as the pocket holder. And really, I'm probably going to put another piece to cover this up anyway. But so the snowflakes doesn't bother me. But I would normally want to stamp something. But I think in this case, I'm not. I'm going to just glue it in here. And let's go ahead and add more sticky strip. Why not? And I don't need to cover this. I'm just going to put this like around the edges. Because this isn't like holding anything together. This is just, so it looks nice. So it looks more finished. You know, because this, we don't want to see that raw cardboard. So again, anytime we've got this tape, we want to burnish. Peel these off. And then one more thing I'm going to show you after I get these, our ribbon ties covered up. I think I'm going to want to add a pocket to the front and back because, so when I cut my designer paper, remember I cut it 6.5 by 8. So I started with a 12 by 12 piece and I cut it off at 6.5 first. Then I turned that and cut it at 8. So I still have a 6.5 by 4 piece, well, 2 of them actually, that I think are gonna make good pockets. So let me, now again, I wanna line up with this crumb cake that's already here and get this centered. Nice. Okay, where's my other bone folder? Oh, here we go. Perfect. I love it. All right, and then we'll do the same over here on the back side. Let's add. So we're going to add our tear and tape first. Yeah, I guess I'll have to label this one part 1, since we're not actually like, I don't even know which pictures I'm going to put in here yet, you guys. I just picked out the color that I wanted to work with. Because when I did the first, my prototype, I used the red plaid paper. I don't know what I was thinking. I usually pick for a prototype like the ugliest paper, like the ugliest print or whatever color I don't like. Because it's a prototype. Like, it's good for something. All right, let's do some glue, but instead I chose the red and I like that. So that's why I'm gonna have to go back and trim up those pages, like take off the jaggedy edge so I can still use them because I don't want to waste that. All right, let's get this on. Lining up with this crumb cake from our spine. All right, perfect. All right, smooth this out. No bubbles. Everything crisp. Okay. I'm liking it already. All right, so here's our handles. That's enough. That's more than enough to tie. Yeah, and depending on, you know, like once we start adding pictures, I won't have to tie it closed so tightly, but you get the idea. All right, now back to pockets. So I've got these 2 pieces that were left over from my DSP. And I want to, yep, 6.5. So let me double check. This was 6 and this is 6.5. So I'm going to take a 1/4 inch and let me think about this because I'm going to do the 3 pocket, like 3 edge pocket. So it's got a little bit more room. But this is too tall. So this is 4 inches. And that will cover that. And I want it to be only 2 inches, but I want to fold this over. So I'm going to cut this. We're going off script now. So I'm going to cut this down to 3 inches. And I'll do 1 and make sure it works. All right, so if it messes up, then we're only going to have 1 pocket. All right, so 3 by 6.5. I'm not going to throw this away because I don't know what I'm going to use it for yet. All right, so I want the top to be like cuffed over. Okay, so my first pocket was a bust. I did not like how it turned out. I cut it down to 3 inches and then folded a 1 inch part over so that we really only get a 2 inch pocket. 2 inches tall, and I really want it to be a smidge taller, and I don't like, 1 inch is too much here. I'm still going to cut it down to 3, but this time I'm only going to fold over a 1/2 inch. All right, so let's get this. So I want it cut at 3. All right, so this part I didn't really have planned out because it just occurred to me. So I'm not going to get too upset that I wasn't completely prepared because this is spur of the moment. All right, so I want to fold down a 1/2 inch. So at 3, I'm going to score gently at 2.5. All right, now this, I want all other 3 sides scored at 1/4 inch. Okay, so I'm going to score it, turn it to the left, score it, and again, gently, and score it. So we have a 1/4 inch border with a 1/2 inch flap. So let's fold, gently fold our 1/2 inch over. Okay, and let's get a little bit of glue. And hopefully my cheesecake is cooled down enough that I can actually get some sleep. All right. So I'm folding this because I want the front of my pocket to have this flip over, just so you see a different pattern and it makes the pocket a little sturdier. All right, now let's fold our 1/4 inch edges in. And I'm just gonna fold these in with my finger and do a finger press. I don't need to do hard scoring. All right, so these are gonna go in. Let's trim corners. And glue in now. So when I have a 3-pocket, a gusseted pocket like this, really, we should call it, I like to glue in the bottom flap first. So this flap right here, it's gonna be tucked under and glued in right at the bottom. So we can tuck everything in, actually. Oh, look at that. We gotta glue these, add some glue to these bits that I chopped off. Let me hold that there for a second. Our side flap, there we go. Just a little bit of glue. Okay, so fold our 3 bits in. And this is where our pocket's gonna fit perfectly, I think. There we go. So yeah, I'm gonna put glue right on this 1/4 inch bottom edge. And I'm pretty generous with the glue. Rose is probably cringing now, my friend Rose. All right, now I'm just gonna line up this bottom edge with the bottom edge of my crumb cake. And I don't really want that crumb cake to show. Okay, I'm just gonna hold this in place for a minute. And I can open it and now press it here. Yeah, I really wanted this other side of the pattern to show too, because then that kind of, it makes the top of the pocket stronger and it makes it more interesting. All right, we've got this all glued down. Now I'm gonna add glue up the sides here. And again, these were our 1/4 inch side flaps. And we'll just push this straight up and hold them down for a minute. Let that grab. And wipe away any excess glue. And then we've got our pocket. Let me put my pin back in and we'll see what do I have laying around here that I can, plenty. I like this roomy pocket. Adding these gussets really gives you a little bit extra room. These aren't as tight, so you can add all sorts of stuff in this front pocket. So awesome. Okay, so since I messed up the other pocket, yeah, that was shorter and too wide of a thing. That's in the garbage. So this album is not going to have a back pocket unless I decide something else when I go to decorate it. But for now, this is as far as I was going. This is, you know, part 1 is building the base book with our Santa's, our North Pole sacks for our pages and chipboard or cardboard or something. So we've built a spine, you know, a 3-piece cover system, covered it with designer paper, built our hinge, okay, with our gussets, our 1/4 inch gussets, and then added our pages. Like our pockets are the pages. And you know what? If you didn't want to keep these as pockets, if you really just wanted to use them as page bases, you could glue these together. But I love a pocket because you can always just put stuff in it. You know, like, let's see. And if we want to do like the half circle punch outs on here so we can grab stuff in and out, we could do that. But we'll deal with that later. So for now, we have the base book done with our hinge and our pages in there, and those are perfectly spaced out and lined up, and I love it. And then we've got our pocket here, and then we added our ribbon closures, and that ribbon is not going anywhere. So let me just tie this closed, and we can get a good look. And then I have to be looking for some pictures. Like, what am I going to put in this? And I, you know, since I went with the mint macaron, but it doesn't have to be winter. Okay, so I'm leaving these long until I decide what I'm doing with it. But there is our, well, and here's the prototype, our 4 4¼ by 6¼ Yep, 4¼ by 6¼ mini album using the North Pole sacks. All right. So thanks for watching. Give me thumbs up, you know, thumbs, hearts, likes, shares, all that stuff. Subscribe if you want, because you're going to want to see part 2 once I decide what I'm decorating this at. Well, both of them actually, because I am going to go back and cut this bit off, add ribbon, you know, do all the same stuff, and doll this one up too. All right, so thanks again. I hope you enjoyed it and are inspired to make your book, and you can jump ahead and start decorating yours any way you want, okay? All right, I will catch you soon. Thanks, bye.